If you are wondering why I uploaded this video a second time, good for you! You managed to escape my 2015 April Fool's joke. If you want to see the following video in German for what weird reason ever, you are very welcome to do so, link below and on screen. But now enjoy the official English version of the video. Hello this is TheAnYPony. Today I want to share my thoughts on homosexuality in the media. Everybody who's following me for a while now and has seen my thoughts on shipping, ANY rambles about what makes a good ship, or any of my other videos that tangentially tackle the topic of sexuality might conclude, ANY, you love that gay stuff. Your opinion is probably the more the better. Well, no. While it is true that I am a very outspoken supporter of the gay rights movement and take a great pleasure in butting heads with anti-gays, I am also a strong supporter of keeping stuff reasonable. Blowing something out of proportion like, let's say, making every second character in the mainstream media gay would be asinine. Wishing for something so extreme is the kind of nonsense those over-aggressive bigots with their political agendas demand on their channels and blogs. I recently had an eye-opening experience while reading another fanfiction. Kind of strange how many of my philosophical insights I get from this kind of fan content nowadays. In at least 2 stories of the Lunar Wars, there was some heavy flirting / implied dating happening between 2 female characters other than the in-universe confirmed couple of Lyra and Bonbon. What kind of baffled me about it was how casual the characters went about it. Especially since in at least one case, one of the girls is supposed to be straight. Being open-minded and acting normal around homosexuals is one thing, but when somebody you are not attracted to shows some romantic interest in you, your reaction won't be, oh well, why not? At least it shouldn't, since that might end up hurting the other one. But that kind of drama is probably not what those 2 stories were going for. And they were also not presenting simple emotional companionship, since inner monologues in both stories very clearly presented an at least one-sided physical attraction. Now, no matter what your personal understanding of homosexuality is, there are some aspects we hopefully can all agree on. First, it is real. No matter if choice, genetics, psychology, or whatever you think is its true source, as long as there are people feeling attracted to members of the same sex, there is homosexuality. Since, well, this is the literal definition of the term. Second, modern science aside, homosexuals cannot reproduce, at least as long as they stick to partners they actually feel attracted to. What brings me to third, homosexuals are and have to be a minority, simply for the fact that an all-gay species would last exactly 1 generation. Back to what bothered me so much about those 2 fictions I mentioned earlier. Making each and every character not just open-minded and cool with homosexuality, but instead homosexuals themselves, or at least bisexuals, is unrealistic. It is against the concept of preservation of the species as a whole. Remind you, my favorite ship within the MLP universe period is Octavia Vinyl Scratch. I love a good romance story as much as the next person who loves a good romance story. Wow, there really is no good analogy for that one, now is there? Anyways, when a romantic story is well written and the characters are relatable, I really don't care for the sex of either of them. However, if we stop talking about a single couple and start implying that everybody is more or less gay, that becomes an issue of immersion breaking, at least until the story introduces a reasonable explanation for it. My example at hand, no big surprise here, the life and times of a winning pony. Within the winning verse, female-female pregnancy is, thanks to the conception through the big brother of the magic of friendship, the magic of love, a natural occurring form of reproduction. Similar to the Atharian Mass Effect, who also don't have to bother about their partner's sex, since they don't conceive through the mere biological act. I talked about that in a bit more detail during my ANY Ask About Pony Mating Habits video, if you're interested. So where does this leave me on homosexuality in media in general? I am asking for a fair representation, in quantity as well as quality. Let's take a look at the former first. As I already stated, homosexuals are a minority. Depending on the statistic you go by, it varies a bit from 1 up to 10%, depending on nationality, age, gender and probably some other factors. So I decided to go with a rather cautious 3%, so even the more skeptical ones among you are willing to consider the following. 3% looks like a tiny number, but let me get this into perspective for you. In a room with 34 people, Statistically, 1 is gay. How many coworkers do you have? How many friends? How many people do you pass each day in the street? On average, every 34th identifies as homosexual. But I have more! The blood types B negative and AB negative are combined less common than homosexual orientation. People with red hair, so-called gingers, only make 1 to 2% of the human population. Maybe a bit more in our region, but it still doesn't get higher than 6%, leaving us with 1 homosexual in every 2 gingers. Even in my cautious comparison, that is rather unfavorable towards homosexuals. So when I ask for a fair representation of gay characters in the media in regards to quantity, go with that. Make them at least half as common as red-haired characters. Make every 34th hero, villain, sidekick, love interest, background character and pony gay. Easy as that. And yes, I am oversimplifying the issue here willingly. Of course, some genres of media are suited better for this kind of goal than others, but on average, there should be the same share of gay characters in media as there are gay characters in real life. Now for the trickier part. A fair representation in regards to quality. Even if every 10th character in the media would be gay, it could still be far from a fair representation if all those characters are either villains, comic relief, or some other role that has a somehow negative connotation to it. And the sad truth is, they often are. Don't believe me? Let's play a game. Please grab a piece of paper and a pen. Opening up a document on your PC works as well. Now think up as many gay characters in mainstream media as possible and write them down. For the purpose of the game, this includes bisexual characters as well, and you may also include characters you simply assume are gay or bi. If you really want to play this game, pause this video now and take a few minutes to make the list. Now please enjoy the obligatory pretending to be waiting for you joke. This is really stupid. Moving on! Now mark the following entries. All characters who mainly function as comic relief or are acting generally silly. All evil characters. All characters who are weak or submissive. All characters who are presented as generally weird, eccentric or deviant. All characters who are presented as gross or disgusting. All characters who are ambiguously gay in the sense of that everybody can tell that they are supposed to be gay, but the medium goes out of its way to never actually address it directly. The characters not yet marked are the only clearly gay characters who are not presented in a degrading way. Now for 2 more rules. Mark all token gay characters, by what I mean characters with an unnecessary big focus on their sexual orientation while it doesn't have any relevance for the story whatsoever. In other words, characters who are unmistakably gay for the sole purpose that the producers can point to them and be like, look, look, we are so progressive, check out our completely gay character. Finally, mark all characters who are the protagonists of stories about their sexual orientation. Counting them as fair representation is absolutely correct, but those are movies about the subject itself, and the point I'm trying to make here is how gay characters are presented in mainstream media in general. Okay, we are done. Now check out the still unmarked characters. How many are from rather recent history? How many are from the show Torchwood? And why does everybody have Cora on their list? Depending on your individual media consumption habits, you might have ended up with a still rather balanced ratio between marked and unmarked characters. But I dare to say that the majority of entries on most people's lists are marked at this point. If not, congratulations! You seem to have a taste for extremely open-minded media. To make something clear at this point, those marked entries are not bad by default. There are many straight or sexual orientation-wise undefined, silly, eccentric, evil, funny and weak characters out there, and those character types are often essential for a story. However, it becomes a bit of a problem if the majority of memorable gay characters outside of movies about their lifestyle fell into those categories. Please take a look at the remaining unmarked characters. How many of them are big roles within their story? Again, nothing against smaller roles. But if gay characters often get kind of unthankful roles, like the comic relief best friend of the protagonist, they also should get their fair share of heroes in compensation. That would be a fair representation quality-wise. An additional side note about how graphic or clear the homosexuality should be displayed. Depending on the media, of course. If it is a kid show in which you play romance rather subtle and puppy love is the most common form, the gay couple should act similarly. If it is a more mature program and straight affection gets shown more directly, like passionate kissing and waking up in bed next to each other, gay affection should be allowed to get this far as well. Now, since I showed the image of Korra and Asami about a dozen times by now, let me throw in my 2 bits about them at this point as well. It is a great thing that the producers of Legend of Korra were able to include this in the end. I was a bit tempted to mark Korra and Asami on my own list when it came to the ambiguously gay characters, but I kept them because, in the end, it felt real enough. There have been rather strong hints how they feel about each other throughout at least the last season, and while I assume Nickelodeon cockblocked the obligatory kiss we all know happened as soon as the credits rolled, their gestures were unmistakably enough so everybody clearly understood the implication. However, I think it's a bit sad that this is such a big deal. Everything happening between Korra and Asami is ridiculously tame in comparison to Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune from the show Sailor Moon that was produced about 20 years ago. In case you are not getting what I'm referring to since you only know the American dub of Sailor Moon, the quote-unquote cousins are actually a gay couple. They just got turned into suspiciously flirty cousins during the dubbing because of the fear of confronting a younger audience with homosexuality. And this is such a dumb and counterproductive move. Let's backtrack to what I said earlier, okay? First, it is real. No matter if choice, genetics, psychology, or whatever you think is its true source, as long as there are people feeling attracted to members of the same sex, there is homosexuality. Since, well, this is the literal definition of the term. No matter if you personally like the idea of homosexuality or not, it is a thing. And fact is, you won't be able to protect your children from learning about its existence. So, do you want your children to totally freak out when they are confronted with a gay couple for the first time? Probably in public since you protected them so well up until this point? And do you want to have to explain it to them right then and there under the pressure of people watching? I doubt that you can answer either of those questions with yes, especially when the topic makes you so uncomfortable to begin with. Therefore, even if, or should I say especially if, homosexuality makes you feel uncomfortable, you should be thankful for your children learn early on that it is a thing they might encounter one day. In the long run, you are not doing neither your child nor yourself a favor by protecting it from real life. So to get back to ponies for a moment here, the wish from the My Thoughts on Shipping video for either Fluttershy or Rarity turning out gay has of course been over the top and was meant to be provocative. Something I would actually like to see to happen for real though, make Lyra Bonbon canon. This is TheAnYPony saying see you soon.